Welcome, Sridhar. Joining him is Mr. Jagdish Venugopal, Chief Business Officer at OmniCycin. Welcome, sir. With, with frequent changes around AI, with frequent changes around cloud computing, there is massive uproar in the fintech space. And what better than understanding from stalwarts like Jagdish to tell us more about what digital transformation is going to change the way BFSI is going to work. So welcome, sir. Over to you, Vivek. Check.
Thank you so much, Jagdish, for taking your time out and spending time with us discussing critical things. Uh, so, what we're trying to discuss today is how we are trying to reshape the BFSI segment when it comes to digital transformation and the wave that is being created today in terms of how the businesses are being conducted. Let me quickly jump into sharing your thoughts on this. What do you think is the tipping point or the inflection point where this digital transformation wave has started, and how is it looking at from the BFSI segment?
Yeah, pleasure being here. So I think the biggest change that happened is the adaptability in the Indian market. So when you really look at the Indian market, the consumer adaptability to technology has been very fast. I think one of the examples I give is my dad is 76. He is pretty savvy with a smartphone. He's able to do all the banking apps himself. I think the nitty-gritty that happened when the mobility came in, it was made affordable to people, and the demands of the market also changed. These two things combined together created that need from the market. The other piece which is pretty interesting for me is unlike most other places around the world where a transformation results in job losses or anything, specifically in India, it helped augment the customer experience. So which became so much more easier for the industry to adapt, so much more easier for the consumers to adapt. And then once they start seeing the results, a lot of these things become more and more innovative. You know, like when I really look at the banking segment, right, I would say that India is far ahead than most of the countries what you can imagine. The things what we do, UPI, your banking and stuff, I think those things are there. So I think one of the key reasons is market demand, availability of technology, and adoption of technology.
Uh, I think all of these, while the BFSI segment is trying to figure it out, ki how do I automate the entire process, how do I bring in a digital transformation and everything, uh, what are customers really expecting, and how are the regulators managing this expectation? How are the BFSI segment as a whole are expecting this? How are they going to be managing that? Because customer expects it to be very, very simple, very, very straightforward. Regulator says, hey, no, it cannot be that simple. You have to have a certain way of doing things. And then stuck in between them is the company who wants to go digital. What do you think is happening over there?
Yeah, actually, that's a good question, right? So basically, you're right. Customers want to simplify things. They want things to work seamlessly. But as a regulator, the regulator has to put in those checks and balances. The way I look at it, the way the industry is shaped, the way the market is shaped, to me, it has gone the right direction. It has not become too difficult for platform companies or any service providers to do it. Uh, could it be better? Definitely, it can be better. Why I say so is security is very important because end of the day we're dealing with money. You do not want to have a materialistic loss given the number of cases that is happening in the space. It is evolving, but I do not think it is something which is prohibiting anybody from doing a business or launching new innovations. Why I say so also, when you really look at the industry, right, in terms of money coming in for different segments, fintech is the second largest funded, and most of them are coming from India. You see so many innovations coming in. Now, from a regulator perspective, what they do is they set broad guidelines. They do not really come in and say you have to do things this way, except the data piece, which I think things will get more stringent with time. So I think it's an interesting piece. So for somebody who's actually wanting to do this, My simple advice would be that they have to watch the regulations, adapt the regulations, but end of the day what wins them is how they are able to satisfy their customer needs. You can't oversimplify it, but you don't need to make it so difficult also for a customer. So the truth lies somewhere in between.
Interesting that you mentioned that the regulator doesn't really specify how a certain things have to be done. Uh, while there are broader guidelines and things available there, it also creates complications within the company on how you do audit trails, how do you maintain the track of things, because now that everything is going digital, it's very essential for you to keep track. How do you think that can be managed?
I think the key element is with, especially on audit trails, the digital footprint and the audit trail is something super important, because if there is an issue, if there is something somebody needs to go back and check how it happened, audit trails and logs are something is the core basic minimum onto which people are doing it. There is a broad guideline which is out, which specifies how you need to do it, how much of this data you need to store, how you store it, who's going to be accessing it. So from my perspective, I think audit trail and the digital footprint and tracking is something which is well mandated. I think the reason why the regulator hasn't specified how you do it is they have given the option to the the user, the one who's providing the service to decide. As long as you fulfill the regulatory needs defined in any form and shape, I think you'll be quite okay. But personally, I think that is a very important piece. The way going forward, even today, there are a lot of important things that are happening, but having a audit trail is going to be super important to track any frauds or to make sure that any kind of an audit or clearance is going to happen in the future.
So I think having a good digital experience is very critical when it comes to your customer. According to you, which initiative do you think has actually improved the customer experience or reduced the friction that we generally see during the flow?
To me personally, I think UPI, the way payments have done, I haven't gone to a bank to withdraw money. There is no need. People don't carry cash anymore. Just the way that it's got adapted in the market, the QR codes and the way it is done, I think that to me is the biggest change I've seen. Um, the second closest is the ability to bank from anywhere. I think the power of the banking segment is still within an app. Most of the things what you need to do can be done. I think these two things stand out to me personally.
I'm just going a little off topic, talking about UPI as a use case. Where do you see ULI going forward from here? Do you see a success story being built there on the UPI rails, or are we seeing something which is like, yes, essential, but then the adoption will take a lot of time for people to come into it? How are the lenders looking at that as a market nowadays?
I think ULI exists, right? I think personally it is a channel for lending. Is it a runaway success like a UPI? It is not, but it kind of eases and creates a new channel for you. Because one thing that happens in the industry is the cost of acquisition. The cost of acquisition is so high that this channel becomes so much more feasible, so much more easier to acquire. So I think it is there to exist. It will go through some changes, but it may never become a mainstream, business model or a business channel. But it will coexist and it will be the fastest growing in the segment. So you'll have your traditional, acquisition, and this will be a parallel route onto which it will go.
Lot of emerging technologies today, right? New innovations. I mean, every year we come to GFF and we see somebody's doing some other new innovation that keeps happening. Uh, One of them is today is the AI that's emerging in a very big way and plans to turn around a lot of things. Most of the conversation that I've been having here with people is mostly on the conversations of AI. So where do you think this AI, which is an emerging technology today, or a solution, where do you think it's headed, and how well can that be implemented? How responsible can we be when it comes to AI?
So AI is pretty interesting again, right? Because the way people see AI, it is like the erstwhile data analytics or machine learning. So everybody wants to do AI, but they do not know what to do with it. The way I look at it, a lot of complex decisioning, a lot of complex processing, a lot of difficult business models. Those are the terms that AI can do better than humans. Will it replace humans? I don't think so. I think it will coexist with human intelligence. It will still make things easier for human beings to think. I still think um, the way that AI will do, it will throw out a lot of options. It will still be somebody with the experience, a banker, who will decide which way to go forward. Um, about 80% of the projects of AI are a failure. People put in a lot of money. Um, and specifically for a market like India, we need to have something unique, because we're not a traditional European, US, or a Southeast Asian market. I think it will adapt to the Indian needs quite fast. But to me, it will coexist with the other technologies. It will make things easier for consumers. It will make things easier for the decision makers. And it will be a tool which will get broadly used, much like a Google and stuff like that.
I'm sure half the conversation on this floor is happening on API integrations today. How critical are these partnerships? How critical are these API integrations to a company like yours? And where do you see that heading?
So I think the first rule is everybody cannot build everything. People build their specialty products. Gone are the days that everybody wants to control the whole environment and the ecosystem. So for me personally, integrations, APIs are quite useful, um, because it helps you to seamlessly integrate with another system, another process, securely and most conveniently. I think you watched the World Cup that India won, right? The T20. What do you remember most about that game?
Oh, the catch by Surya Kumar Yadav, that's a game turner, right? Yeah.
Correct. So just imagine, I would reckon API like a nervous system. So when Surya was running, it was not an easy catch. He had to hold the ball, throw it up, go outside the boundary, and come back and take it. So if his nervous system or his practice didn't tell what exactly is to be done, then we won't be talking about the catch. We'll talk about how it was a missed opportunity. So to me, API is like that, right? It sends the right signal, it sends the right message, it helps them to act at the right time securely. The catch was secured, India won the cup. So every API transaction is like that. So I think that's the way I look at a API integration.
I think API is that's a very classic example somebody can give when it comes to technology versus cricket. But I think AI is more like a muscle memory of a company, right? I mean, you react to certain things in a way. Uh, are there any lessons from early adopters from the industry that you would have seen, which you would want to share? And what kind of transformation roadmap are you looking at? Or what kind of expectations do you have there?
So normally you have two, three types of people who adapt technology. The early adapters are the innovators, they run at a great pace. The early adapters have the stomach for failure. They know what they want to do, they are willing to live with a certain amount of failure. Their ability to qualify technology and integrate is very high. They're smart, they're forward looking people. So they do things in that way. But I think most Indian companies fall into not the early adapters or the beta testers, but probably as adapt followers. The moment they know something works, something is a success, the ability for others to adapt it to their environment is very high. So the things what we have seen, because we work worldwide, and we work with a lot of Indian customers, when we have a new product, a new technology, we also go in and say customers, look, this is something which we are testing. It's a beta, right? We try and adapt it to the customers, we try and adapt it to the market. So your ability to understand the market and make the right changes defines the success. Um, we have a very clear methodology where we say, the market is going this way, how do you want to react? If this is the reaction, what next? Because one thing that happens with early adoption is scale. Most products which are there for early adoption do not scale. So having that kind of a qualification where you're able to understand, yes, it's a great product to have, but does it also scale with size? Because markets are unforgiving. Uh, they do not wait for you to scale. So watching those indicators and scaling it up in the correct time, those are the things which we have seen, and I think that's how we work with most of our clients as well.
I mean, there are a lot of new launches that we keep doing, right? I mean, Protean is also launching multiple things between the next 3 days. How do you as a company decide whether you want to be part of that early adoption or no? Because I think that's the first puzzle that everybody wants to solve as to who's going to be my first customer who wants to adopt this and see how we can scale that up. How do you decide whether you want to be that, or do you always play? Let's play the wait and watch game. What the others are doing, and then probably I'll follow them. So do you want to be a follower, or do you want to be an early adopter? What is that you would want to be recognized as?
So historically, we never been followers. We try and be early. And how do we do that? We have three buckets. One, what the market needs. Two, what the customer speaks. We are very close to the market to understand what the customer needs are. And three, we track our product journey. Like the discussion that we have with Protean is on a lot of your APIs today. And to us, why do we need that is because we know it adds a significant value to our customers. They don't have to jump platforms. They don't have to do so many things. Our competitors do not do that. So that is the base onto which we decide on anything what we do. And number two, we always look at a partner who's more reliable and scalable. I mean, no offense to any startups, right? There is a lot of things that experience brings in. There's a lot of things that a certain size and your track record brings in. So we try and mix and match wherever it is critical. Our possibility to engage with somebody who's just an upcoming startup might be less. We will go with a more trustworthy partner. And following the customer needs, following the market is how we have always gone in. So we like to slightly stay ahead of the curve, not too far ahead where our chances of success or failure are more. So slightly ahead of the curve is what we do, and we are still an early adapter with most things that we need in the market.
One last question before we thank you for coming on the stage. Build versus buy. What is your recommendation?
So build what you can manage, because it's so easy to build. I will just give this as an example, like a silk sari. It's so easy to buy, but so expensive to maintain, because technology changes every 2-3 years. Market demands changes. I would suggest build what you need, what you can manage, and buy, because on the long run, buy becomes a cheaper and a more scalable experience for you. And that is how I've seen the market grow as well.
Well, thank you so much, Jagdish, for coming onto our dais and honoring us. Thank you so much for this, and lovely inputs from you. We'd certainly have a lot of learning from that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Pleasure coming here. Thank you so much. Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Venugopal. May I now please request Mr. Sridhar to felicitate Mr. Jagdish Venugopal for his insightful conversation here at the Protean Pavilion. Thank you so much, sir.